Happy hump day, everybody. Happy hump day. Y'all know today is Wednesday and today is Pinpoint Podcast. Today we got a special guest. We always have a special guest because all my guests are special. But today we have a guest who's been in the food business, have quite a few restaurants around Atlanta, been in the food business for more than 20 years. Who's Got Soul restaurant. Actually, I used to take my office there all the time, outside of Papa Do's, and order food there. Who's Got Soul is a soul food restaurant. They have one in Duluth. They have one. They have in Decatur, Duluth. New location is in Duluth, and the other location I want to say is in that one is in Duluth or Norcross as well. But nevertheless, Who's Got Soul? I'm going to speak to the owner, Keith Kash. So today I hope y'all enjoy this Pinpoint Podcast. You know, as everything is always real estate, and part of the guest here today, he's not only just a restaurateur, he's also well established as a fix and flipper or fix and holder. He invests in real estate. So today we're gonna have a very interesting topic to someone who's been in business about as long as I have, and just to get to know everybody. Hey, I hope y'all enjoy it. Pinpoint Podcast. You know, we always here to try to give knowledge about something real estate. Pinpoint Podcast. Come inside and join us. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Mr. Menifee here with Pinpoint Podcast. Pinpoint Podcast on Hump Day Wednesday. Once again, we hope everybody having a blessed and prosperous Hump Day. Today we have a restaurateur today. And you know, at Pinpoint Podcast, everything is always real estate. So we have a restaurateur. Not only is I'll let him tell you where he's from, but he's also in the real estate business. Not as a fix and flipper, but as a fix and hold. So we gonna jump right into it, and I'm going to introduce y'all to Mr. Keith Kash, who's been in business for more than 20 plus years. Keith Kash, you want to introduce yourself?
What's up, brother? Pleasure having me. Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time and coming out. One of the things today, we jump right in it. This brother here, I met him. First of all, when he opened up his store in
2000.
In 2000, we was at 5880 Live Oak Parkway, and one of my staff members, I hate to say the word employee, but one of my staff members, hey man, this is a great restaurant around the corner, and it's soul food. I love soul food and I love seafood, and then I love to cook. But when we ain't cooking, we out eating. So we always out. Like I said, we was always out at Papa Do's. Then they told us about Who's Got Soul.
Right.
Who's Got Soul, that became one of our favorite takeouts. Because it's not far from our office. We was in 5880 Live Oak Parkway in Norcross, Georgia. And you're off of...
The Lawrenceville, the original location, is off Harrington Road.
Right, and that was the first location you had. Let me ask you this here. First, tell the audience, where you from?
Harlem, New York.
And what got you into the business? I mean, tell us a little bit about it. What drove you to say, "Hey, I'm gonna start cooking"? Because all of us think we could cook.
Absolutely. I've been cooking my whole life. Always had a passion for cooking. Was pretty good at it as a non-professional. Always knew I would be doing something with food, but didn't plan on opening a restaurant per se. Wasn't necessarily a plan. I think I say this all the time. I focus on preparation, not planning. You know, when you're prepared, you can take advantage of opportunities. As we all know, a lot of our plans don't work out, right?
Yeah.
They say you make a plan and God laughs, right?
Yeah.
So when I moved to the Atlanta area, I moved to Gwinnett County, which was super suburban back then. Deers running up and down the street. Right?
I remember I've been in Gwinnett since 1997.
Correct. You got here 2 years before me. So living out in Gwinnett, I always had to go all the way to Stone Mountain to get a fish sandwich. It was just a fish sandwich. That's what I want, right?
What was that, Supreme?
I would go to Yasim's or Supreme.
Yeah, Yasim or Supreme.
Right. So I said, you know what, we would really do well if we had just a spot to get a fish sandwich. So that's what really inspired the thought behind putting a restaurant in Gwinnett County. And 21 years later, you know, we done sold, what they say, McDonald's over 1 billion sold. I'm sure we done sold over 1 million fish sandwiches.
Yeah.
In 21 years.
Right. I'm probably sure y'all sold more than 1 million fish sandwiches. Because the food, not just, hey, y'all know I could cook, Chef JL. Hey, they food is excellent. Not good, but excellent.
Pinpoint Courier is a Georgia and Texas-based on-demand delivery service. We offer same-day, rush, and even direct drive delivery while guaranteeing top-notch, reliable, and quality service at the best competitive prices. Come try us out. Visit us at our website, pinpointcourier.com, or give us a call today for more information. Pinpoint, always pointing you in the right direction.
So that's what ended up getting you out here. But moving from Harlem, what brought you from Harlem to Atlanta? Like all of us, like I'm from Houston, came here.
Family wanted to move here. So, you know, we decided to move down and, you know, start a life here. Atlanta's always been the I would say, the center of black prosperity in the South.
Right.
For years, even dating back to, you know, I always say we all are kind of existing in the spirit of a lot of the people that came before us, especially Atlanta with Maynard Jackson and some of the things that were put in place from a business perspective. So moved here then, not really knowing much about Atlanta, just knowing that everybody was talking about move to Atlanta, the cost of living is great, it's a great place to start a family, do your thing, make money, whatever the case may be. So I hadn't researched it much, but with Southern roots, you know, my mom being from Alabama, my father being from North Carolina, I knew enough to know that, you know what, let's go. And I'm a kind of cat that it don't matter where you put me, I'm gonna do my thing. So
right.
I took that same mindset when I moved here.
Right. That's what I always say. The hustle is in you. When you trace your DNA, if it's on you, and when that hustle is complete, you take a shower or walk out in the rain and get washed off, you can't come back. But when it's in you and not on you, guess what? Like my partner, one of my good partners in Houston I grew up with since second grade, Mr. Churchill Williams, inside the business. He tells me, hey, when the hustle's in you, one thing, you gotta take it like a bowl of rice, and you gotta eat every grain as if it was your last. You know, that's what you gotta think about when you're hustling as a small entrepreneur in business. Because the one thing I understand about us small business owners, not to jump into that part yet, but touch bases, I noticed we just what is your third or fourth location?
Fourth location.
Yeah, fourth location, Pinpoint. We just help you negotiate your lease over in Duluth. And we appreciate your business. We appreciate anybody that will allow us to help you locate, relocate, expand, or whatever in the business, negotiate your lease. But what made you step outside of your norm, because you're a very educated brother as well, outside, because you've been in the military as well. Thank you for serving, by the way. I always like to thank you for serving. But what made you step outside the norm and use a company other than your own negotiations when you look for another lease space? When you know you do it your norm?
Well, I think when you elevate, you know, you're at a different level. There's some things that, one thing I am is so let me get this right. The first question you asked me is what what inspired us looking for a broker.
Yeah.
Vice doing it ourselves.
Yeah, because I know you're a very educated brother, well-rounded, and I know you negotiated the lease spaces over. I know the Decatur,
Lawrenceville,
and he's also in the
City Hall.
City Hall. He's also in the City Hall for you guys out there who want to go out there. And
City Hall Atlanta specifically.
City Hall of Atlanta. If you want to taste some good soul food, I don't know if they.
Well, we don't. City Hall is closed. The
Okay,
City Hall itself is closed. So of course our location in City Hall is closed. But we didn't just do soul food there.
Oh, okay.
City Hall, we did breakfast and lunch. We had a full service grill. Did deli sandwiches, fresh salads. We did full breakfast, and then in addition to that, we did a themed lunch.
And y'all got a food truck.
Right. We also have a food truck, but not for the City Hall location, just period. So we did a different themed lunch day, every day. Barbecue some days, soul food some days, Mexican some days, Italian some days, but it was themed, and every day every week it was the same.
Right.
We just rotated between those themes because it's a diverse environment, and we didn't want to just offer the city staff. It wasn't just open to the city staff. It's open if you were going there to pay your phone bill, you were there going there to do any kind of city business. If you're going there to get a permit, whatever it might be, you could visit the cafeteria. And we served restaurant quality food in a cafeteria, which there was we had so many people visiting us that weren't doing City Hall business. All the buildings around City Hall visited with us every day. We served between 400 and 600 people a day at that location.
In the City Hall?
Inside City Hall.
Wow.
Absolutely. So, it was amazing. But what prompted me, getting back to your initial question, what prompted me to go outside of me negotiating and doing things ourselves, because I'm not the expert. There's always an expert in a particular field. I was referred to you through a mutual colleague, and I believe in allowing people to do what they do, which allows me to do what I do. I don't have to do everything. I think once you start growing in business, you understand. We all have to be a jack of all trades when we first start in anything, right? Because you got limited resources, limited funds. You also have more time on your hands. So you have an opportunity to do some of the things yourself, right? Mm-hmm. When you start growing in business, you realize that time is the true currency. You don't really have time to do everything yourself.
Right.
So you find an expert, a specialist, so to speak, at something specifically. In this specific, it was in commercial real estate.
Right.
So that's what prompted us to reach out to you, and the fact that we just found you through a referral,
right,
made it a little bit more easy. That's absolutely,
right.
yeah, through a referral. So that made it work smooth.
Yeah, as always, we welcome anybody that's looking for a commercial lease space to contact Pinpoint Brokers. You can reach us by pinpointbrokers.net. But it's not about Pinpoint, it's about Mr. Keith Kash. Now, Mr. Keith Kash, another thing, like I said, we noticed you got the food truck. And outside of the food truck, before we step into what we seen you on TV for the other day, the food truck, during the pandemic, and in the space we put you in, I think we negotiated that space and we closed it, was it 19? Right before the pandemic? Or was it in 20, January of 20?
Nah, it was about October
of 19. Okay, and you was supposed to be open in August, September.
We were supposed to receive the space. Let's back up.
Okay.
No, we negotiated that probably summertime of 19.
Okay.
They were supposed to be complete with the building of the shopping center.
Right.
November of 19. October. No, I'm gonna go back even further. We negotiated that the beginning of summer of 19.
Oh, okay.
They were supposed
time passed fast.
They were supposed to be completed in August, September of 19. then got pushed back to November of 19, and they finally completed in February of 20.
Right. That's part of the construction people don't have an understanding of.
Absolutely. And the reason I know that timeline because they actually actually received their CO the day before my birthday.
Oh, okay. When your birthday?
February 6th.
Okay.
So we got our keys. I guess that was a birthday gift. We got our keys to that space on my birthday,
Okay.
coincidentally. And then we started our process May 6th. Excuse me. We started our process March 6th with submitting for our first permit. And COVID hit March 12th. So the week before COVID, we started our permitting process. And then COVID hit and pretty much everything was at a standstill for several months.
Oh, okay. And I see you got it real nice in there. But one of the things, touch base with what we seen you on, what was that, Channel 2 News?
I think it was WSB. WSB, yeah.
Is that Channel 2?
I think it's Channel 2, yes.
Yeah, we noticed you having a problem like everybody, including Pinpoint, having the issues hiring millennials. Or hiring period, but I like to say hiring millennials.
Right.
Well, I see you was on the news saying now you're all up, got a very nice, much bigger location than all your other locations. Very extravagant. I hope you guys go out there and visit.
Well, it's not as big. City Hall is still bigger than that.
Oh, City Hall is bigger than that.
City Hall is 5,000 square feet.
Oh, but it's the nicest.
Yeah, City Hall is a nice location.
I'm talking about the inside.
No, absolutely. But you know, different levels. That's more. You know, you're dealing with a different environment. So certain elements that you know you got to be responsible with city funds, right?
Yeah.
So that project was funded by the city. I was fortunate enough to be the lead of the project and be selected as the company and win the contract because I had to write a proposal. 160-page proposal. And
what led you to put yourself in a position like that?
I was actually the previous mayor reached out to me.
Okay. Kasim,
yeah. Shout out to Kasim. His staff, his cabinet, reached out to me, Katrina, because they were familiar with my product and you know what I did as a business owner. So that gave me the opportunity to come and bid because any city contract you have to bid, right? There's nothing given. So I was selected as the interim because they needed to get it open. And then I had to go through the bidding process and write a proposal. So we were fortunate enough to win the proposal and then our interim became permanent and we did a 6-year run at that location prior to COVID shutting it down.
So when the city opens back up, would y'all still be inside?
I don't know. All contracts had to be terminated at that time because COVID, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, we'll see. I still have equipment space, office space, you know, like we're still there. But at the end of the day, I think that, you know, you get to a place in business where you evolve and grow, you know what I mean? So I never say never. I never speak on what I won't do and what I, you know, because again, when we make plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I focus on being prepared.
Well, who got a song about that? Drake, God's Plans?
God's plan, no question.
Not our plans, God's plans.
No question.
Yeah.
So preparation is everything. So this is our 4th location, Duluth, right next to Bahama Breeze, right off the highway, Pleasant Hill Road. Phenomenal location, 2,600 square feet, patio, and that's not even including the patio. I think we see 16 on the patio. Prime location.
Prime location.
Yeah. So typically, let's talk about that a little bit. Typically, we had talked about looking for locations, etc. prior, and then that location I saw it just driving down one day, and typically I would have negotiated it myself, right? But instead of me negotiating it myself, I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and bring in someone that this is what they do for a living, like I said. So called y'all up and said, hey, I found this location. I reached out to the owners, and I want to connect y'all with them so that we can go ahead and lock down that lease.
Right, and ironically, we was already dealing with them.
on something else, right?
Right. Cause we vet out a lot of new locations like that when they doing the plazas or what we're building mixed use development and everything. You know, we kind of vet out, and then and you'll be surprised, Mr. Cash. In the commercial business, as you found out, it's a very small niche. I know you got a lot of people out there say, "Hey, we do commercial," but then when you see get involved with it, you see they really don't do commercial. But one of the things I know about over there, the issue, and then he's hiring as well. The issue with when we see you on what channel, I'm just say Channel 2 News. I keep forgetting the WS thing. But one of the things about it is, can you tell us about the issues? Because I've talked about it on several podcasts, in the real estate side and in the construction side. But tell us about how difficult it is just to even get some good qualified people to come work during these trying times of the pandemic.
Well, first let me say that anybody that works, any small business knows that there's a challenge to locate great staff when it ain't a pandemic, right?
Right.
That's not something that was created by the pandemic. It was something that was heightened by the pandemic. So we struggle with finding good people all the time. The pandemic has just made that struggle even more real. And the fact that there are, and I kind of, you know, I'm on a podcast, so I'm gonna speak a little bit more candidly now, right?
Right.
On the news, I kind of couldn't really say certain things, or I wouldn't because I'm shrewd. But we can all speculate, right? It's all speculation that people aren't working because of unemployment, right? That's a speculative thing. We don't know that for certain.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we do know we got common sense. So if folks getting free money, it's not encouragement for them to want to work, unfortunately. Right. So, and I just mentioned this to someone a second ago, and I said, hey, the government did a great job of making sure people kept money in their pocket during the pandemic. What they didn't do a good job of is incentivizing people to get back to work, right? So in hindsight, they can see what has been created. When you give out too much aid, right? When you give out too much aid, when you give out, what is this? What's this?
That's Glenn Levitt, Scott, baby.
Okay.
Glenn Levitt. Pinpoint Podcast. We always enjoy ourselves, and like you said, be open, free, candidly, and main thing, honest.
Right. So
because we have absolutely no censor here.
Right. So, well, that's one thing you ain't never got to worry about me being as honest.
Right. I know that. That's why I deal with
you. We can speculate that it's due to unemployment, but like I said, I couldn't really say that definitively, because when you speak in certain platforms, you got to have like proof, right? Not just what you think, not opinion, right? But common sense dictates if I give you the amount of money you need to live, or even close to it, and you can pay your bills and be sustainable, and you ain't got to work. I mean, a lot of people are going to choose not to. So I think that this should have been an incentive placed to return, right? So if I'm gonna give you $3,000 a month for 6 months, right? That's 6 months of you not being productive or adding any value to society, right? Per se. Now, some people have started businesses. Some people have had child care issues where they couldn't work, and that money sustained them while they had to stay home with the kids, right? So we're not really speaking of that sector of people. There were people that really needed that aid. But then there's people that can go to work, right? And the incentive should have been, instead of me giving you $3,000 a month for 6 months, that's 18 grand. How about I just give you 7 grand as an incentive to go work? Right? I just saved the government $11,000, and I infused in kickstarted the economy because now we have the workforce needed to keep up with the supply chain is broke right now, right? When you order furniture, it's taking 6 months longer, right? When you're trying to find chicken, you can't find it because there's a chicken wing shortage. It's a lot of different. The drivers, the delivery drivers, you can't get product brought to you for delivery. I'm a restaurant, right?
Right.
The largest food service providers in the world are having problems having delivery drivers to deliver product. Their managers and sales reps driving trucks part-time because they don't have delivery drivers to bring product to restaurants and to businesses. So the incentive should have been, I'm going to give you a lump sum of money, and once you sustain, I'm going to give you part of it now, and once you sustain stable employment for X number of period, then you'll get the other half.
Right. That makes a hell of a lot of sense.
You feel me? That now you keeping people whole and keeping them from being homeless or not being able to pay their bills, but you're also making them earn it, and you're helping businesses out that need it. And we understand this is not a small business issue. This is an all business issue. You feel me?
It's kind of like, excuse me, it's kind of like I say, welfare, food stamps. I'm 150% against it because we grew up on it for one, and I can see how people, like you say, got comfortable because you're getting aid, and that aid is not giving you an incentive to go out there and work and do more, to be more. And most time, I don't know about no other ethnic, so I don't really care. If you say, well, white people do it, Asian people do it, I don't give a shit about all that. I only know what my people do because that's what I grew up around. A lot of them do it, and then they figured out, you know what, I get more money if I have another kid. That's fucking retarded, but they do it. Hey, you know what? If I get more food stamps, if I got another kid, or I can use your kid. That's fucking ridiculous because now you don't have no incentive to go out there and get a job and get off of the aid. And that's what I kind of see what's happening now.
Absolutely.
Based off.
It's a form of welfare. It's become a form of welfare.
It's a form of welfare. And welfare always stagnates someone's process for success. Because if they could get comfortable enough to receive, like they say, the unemployment or whatever, they ain't got to go out there and work. Because see, they really don't want to work anyway.
Well, it's a contradiction to capitalism is what's going on. So, you know, when you start talking about welfare and social aid, that's a socialist society. Well, in a socialist society, you depend on government, right?
Right.
But this is not a socialist society, it's a capitalist society. So we depend on entrepreneurship. We depend on building and establishing different brands and different services. So the problem now is you have a form of socialism trying to survive in a capitalistic society. And as you see, they cancel each other out.
Right.
So at some point in time, we're going to get back to what this country is about, which is capitalism. And we will have programs to help people that are less fortunate. Because one thing that I don't do is I'm never going to remember or never forget where I came from, right?
I would never do that as well.
Right.
But I'm always be against welfare.
Right. But what I will say is I'm not against welfare. No, I get you. I'm not against, and let me complete this thought. I'm not against welfare. I'm against the way welfare is implemented, right? I think that there can be some incentive-based form of aid that encourage people to not stay on welfare, right? I think that the incentive for people that are less fortunate is non-existent. The incentive is to stay where they are, not to elevate above it. So it can be tweaked, right? Mm-hmm. So that you still help people that are less fortunate, but you invest in providing more resources and incentivize the elevation instead of incentivizing the extra kid, right, or incentivizing the I'm going to leave off the dad off this paperwork because if his income is added, I don't qualify. It incentivizes a lot of poor practices that then kind of separate minority families, and we feed into it.
Right.
Yep.
Which basically is what's going on right now with.
Hi, my name is Erica O'Neill, and I'm with Pinpoint Brokers. My role here at Pinpoint Brokers is to point you in the right direction for all of your commercial real estate needs. So whether you need help obtaining a business loan or you need to find tenants for your vacant commercial space, Pinpoint can point you in the right direction. Come visit us at pinpointbrokers.net or on Instagram at Pinpoint Brokers. See you soon.
The job market, because like you say, it's not a small business problem, it's an all business problem.
Absolutely.
Especially in the higher position, because we have to as because you've been in business about 20 some years now.
20. I'm going into our 22nd year.
Yeah, I'm going into almost my 30th year. A couple more years will be 30 years for me, and I've never had issues hiring a secretary, or hiring a good loan officer, or hiring anybody. Period. People wanted to work.
Period.
But we never had an issue like this, like you say, with the pandemic and with them giving out aid. Nothing wrong with giving out aid, but like you stated, with it should have put an incentive in place, right? I think people get trapped, which they probably don't know, the trap in the welfare state of mind. That's what I call it. Me
Right.
personally, I don't care what the hell nobody else call it. That's what I call it, based
Right.
off experience.
Right.
Based off understanding the system of welfare. Because I remember one time we was on welfare, and I think we was eating some Popeye's chicken or some shit. I was really young, there was 5 of us. And we had the welfare caseworker come up, and my mom, God bless her dead, I miss her much. But we had to put the shit up, just like on TV, put the shit up, because they can't see you. Well, where the hell that meal come from? You see what I'm saying? And so that's how I kind of see
It
now.
incentivizes poverty.
Exactly. And that's what it's doing now, because you got a lot of people getting this much money, and you'll be surprised. I've met grown men that say they ain't never touched $5,000 in their life. $5,000. Now, you would think that's absurd because of your position and my position. But it's actually grown men out there that never seen that kind of money.
Well, that's why I alluded to before, not forgetting. It's not absurd to me because I've seen and experienced things that my kids haven't had to experience, right?
Right.
And that's the difference between, I think, some people in our generation and this generation. I think our generation, and you're a little bit older than me,
Yeah.
but we're not that far apart, right? So I think our generation, the opportunities were much different in the 70s, in the 80s, right? And as a result, we had to work a little harder.
A lot harder.
Yeah, absolutely. To get to where we are now. So some of the things that are accessible to this generation, they take for granted, but they also are able to take advantage of. Even what we're doing right now, we're in a podcast, you can videotape this, and we get it out there to millions of people.
We ain't know nothing about it.
That's right. Not only did we not know anything about it, it wasn't even technologically possible because the internet hadn't even been created yet, right?
Right.
There was no internet.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So smartphones, I mean, our cell phones was bigger than that bottle of Glenlivet, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we it's just a different vibe and a different world now. I think for the main, what I try to do is just be thankful for the opportunities and not take anything that's
For granted.
Nah, not at all, because this shit could go tomorrow. Like, it could literally be pulled from underneath your feet.
I know that.
You know what I'm saying?
I know that to be factual.
Actually, absolutely. So, any opportunity I have to even just come and like talk with you today, right? And I appreciate the invitation. I think that
Appreciate you accepting it.
yeah, no question. So I think that we all have to kind of feed off each other and project a certain energy that inspires elevation.
Exactly. which brings me to this. Now, I'm gonna say, out of 100%, I'm gonna say I could be wrong with the math, but I'm not far off, and you could agree. Let me know if you agree or disagree. If you know what, I'm gonna say probably 3%. I can't even give it 5. 3% of small entrepreneurs, business owners, and I'm speaking of minorities.
Right.
I can't speak of others.
Right.
I'm speaking of minorities. Haven't had sales of $1 million plus. Probably
You said half?
Have not have sales of $1 million plus in that business. I know because I do a lot of business loans.
3% has not or have?
Have. Thank you for the correction.
Okay.
97% have not.
Okay.
I think 3% to 1% margin may have actually legitimately made $1 million in their small business, or even seen $1 million plus in sales. And that's one of the things I always share with people, because everything is all things real estate, all things business with Pinpoint, which we'll get to that because you are an entrepreneur as a restaurateur, as well as you invest in properties. So before we touch on the properties, how do you feel about people going into business and just to say they're in business and ain't touched, ain't seen, ain't felt $1 million? Because they go into business just to say, I'm in business. A lot of small entrepreneurs, small business owners, entrepreneurs, I don't understand. That's why I say you got to know whether you're an employer or an employee. I feel, me personally, if you're going to go into business, if you're not trying to make no millions, or you've been in business for 10, 20 years and haven't seen $1 million, well, I think you need to have an understanding with yourself that you're not an employer, but an employee. I know your sales, you can tell if you want your sales, you've been very successful, because I know we one of the kind, we love eating at Who's Got Sold to this day. To this day, like Deontay Wilder, to this day, we love eating at Who's Got Sold. So how do you feel about that, and what made you strive to make sure that your business, and not just having the mindset to say, hey, brother, I go in a restaurant, let me come talk on your podcast. You don't give a damn about that. Right. You want to make sure your company is, like you say, mentioned about
sustainable. Yeah,
sustainable.
So let me say this. And it's all in the mindset, right? I would say all the time that I don't do what I do for money, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing I do is for money. Now, people say, man, get the hell out of here. You got this, you got that, you want to make money. And I say, yes, money is a byproduct. Money's not the driving force. All right? The driving force for me, and I think this is important, and everybody's mindset is different, so I can't really knock anybody for how they motivate themselves. But because I've not had money, and because I've had money, I'm in a unique position to be able to compare, right?
Compare
the have and have not, right? The one constant in that is me, my person, my spirit, right? Money ain't gonna change it, right? Money allows freedom. Money allows peace of mind. But money doesn't change me as an individual, right? So as a result, that let me know the true value of money, right? The motivation for me is generational, it's family, it's resource oriented. It's all the things that go along with the money. Right? So to answer the question about business, I think that, especially being in a city as pretentious as Atlanta,
right,
I think that there's a lot of people that invest a lot of time in the dog and pony show, the smoke and mirror, right?
Smoke and mirror. Well, I always
right.
talk about it.
They got to have the right shoe, the right car, the right pair of glasses, the right watch. But when you look at the portfolio, it looks completely different, right? that's because they're not putting the energy into the things that I just spoke of. Because you can't create generational wealth and resources in any of those things based on the smoke and mirror, right? If you listen, I'm a shoe guy. I'm a 70s. I'm hip hop generation. I'm New York City.
You and I both.
Right.
I'm Houston.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these movements would not only came in our era, but specifically a lot of the things started in NYC, right? Especially shoes, right? With all the hip hop acts that came out of New York and their connection with shoe deals back then, which was unheard of, right? So that's always been, when I was broke, if I had enough money to get anything, I was spending on a pair of shoes, right? This was back then. So that's just the generation and kind of like a hobby of mine. But I think we have to be able to identify, and the IRS knows how to do it really well, how to identify the difference between a business and a hobby. Okay? I think a lot of people have hobbies and not businesses.
Right.
And the way the IRS identifies hobbies and businesses is if you claim a loss for 5 years, that's not a business. Your 5th year, you got to dissolve it. You're a hobby, right? We need to put that on your Schedule C or wherever it goes and identify it and classify it as a hobby. So I think that and this all comes from the lack of information from very early. Like certain things we learned maybe in a non-traditional fashion, but we learned it and we understood it. You learned things about real estate long before some folks learned, but you learned some things that may have been attached to straight streets and everything else like me. We learned things non-traditionally, but then we're able to transition it, that same information, the premise behind it all is the same, right? To be able to transition it into real estate, restaurants, business, loans, leverage, credit, banking, finance. There's a lot of different elements that go into having sustainable businesses and growing businesses that we don't learn early. So what we see is people like that you just spoke of that may not have reached a certain level in business because they don't understand the premise behind what they're doing and how they're doing it anyway.
Or it might just not be in their goddamn.
It's not being their cause, or their business may not truly be a business.
Right.
It's just a hobby that they are kind of showcasing as a business. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily. I think
to get in certain doors.
To get in certain doors.
Well,
they say fake.
like that.
They say right. They say fake it till you make it, but you got to know when it's. You can't keep faking it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When the fake it becomes that's what you do. The norm. Then what are you doing? You're just wasting time and resources. You know what I'm saying?
I always say that. That's great. That's a great analogy. Because I always tell people like this here. They use the fake it till you make it. I have understanding that. I ain't never liked the fake it till I make it. Me personally, I don't care what nobody else does. But I do have an understanding of one thing. You got to be whoever you are. Because it's like this here. When you got a person that tell a lie, when you tell that lie so much, you in your mind is now convinced it's the truth. And that's what it is. And that's what a lot of people do when they create a business. They lie to themselves so much, knowing they don't have a business, to where in their mind they believe, but they're not set up properly as a business to be in business.
Now, let me add this. And it's I like that. Well, first we got to know what the elements of a business is.
Right.
And I don't think that's what we're taught. Right? We don't really know the key components of starting a business. How to start a business. Now, we come from a long lineage of successful folk, right? Mm-hmm. You're talking about from the Madam C.J. Walkers to even now the Bronner family, right? Right? You see a lot of people that have kind of started a long time ago and have been able to create these great businesses that are still sustained over these years. But what we don't do with each other is we don't share information enough, right?
Most of us, I do all the time.
Right, but it's not the norm. It's not what we do in society.
Right.
When you are looking for, I can go right now and search, and I'm gonna be candid because I'm on the JL podcast. I can go online and find some bullshit real easy.
Yeah.
I can Google, find some bullshit, and a whole bunch of stuff will come up, right? And I can spend hours and hours and hours reading and identifying some trash, right?
Right.
But if I Google how to start a business, I will be led to a bunch of things trying to get my money. The people that are putting out the information on how to start a business will lead you to you have to pay this to do that, to do this, to do that. You'd go down a whole wormhole of trying to start a business. From EIN, which is free, to being able to set up your business with the Secretary of State, which costs $50.
No, $100. $250 if you want to expedite it.
Right, but $100 and you just wait 5-7 days and you'll have it, right?
2 weeks now, right now.
Okay, right, because of COVID. But at the end of the day, my point in saying that is I can find information on some bullshit a lot easier than I can find. It's free information on how to start a business, right?
Well, you know what they say, if you want to hire something from a good old black man, put it in a book.
Right, and I this is what I'll say. I think that it's our job to educate and share information with each other. It's no one else's job to teach us anything. We got to teach ourselves. And everybody is not a JL or a Keith Kash. Everybody doesn't have the equipment or the same, not just the knowledge, but there's a little bit more talent that you've been given. There's a little bit more talent that I've been given.
I'm going to say that talent is understanding and growing up the way we grew up in the streets, and we taking the streets and apply that same street hustle, that same street knowledge that you had to learn to have an understanding of how to survive when we grew up. We applied that into our business to make you successful.
Yeah, but I think it's deeper than that, JL. Because if I put 10 people in this room, you being number 10, if I put 9 other people next to you, you still gonna be in the top 1-2% of them 10 people. Even if y'all all come from the same place.
But that comes back to what's so deep is the DNA, which I'm writing about. DNA is so deep because when you trace that DNA, I ain't talking about for your ancestors to know where you come from. That's that. The DNA, the hustle come from you, from somebody along in your family. And again, it ain't on you. My mom used to always say, "Baby, I'm so proud of you," because the way we grew up. But I don't know where the hell you get your hustle from. Out of it's 5 of us, and we are super close. And then as you grow older and learn something about your DNA, you learn it might have been from your great grandfather, your great uncle, or your great aunt. It goes back all the way to that DNA.
I got a straw. Yeah, thanks.
You see what I'm saying? Hey, since you're going to run, can I get one more? Hey, this is the Pinpoint Podcast. Everything goes.
But see, here's the thing. I'm gonna add to that, JL. I agree with you, but I think it's something else too. There's a certain level of talent that you've been given. It's DNA. It's definitely in the DNA, but God has given some people a little bit more equipment than He's given others. Right?
Everybody's blessed with a talent that He places.
Absolutely, but some people are blessed with even more talents, right? It's levels to it. It ain't all the same. We wasn't all given the same thing.
We're not all created equal in that sense.
Absolutely not. So there's if you put 100 people in a room, there's still going to be some top 5%ers in that room because that's but that's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? So even with that being said, I think those people that have a little bit more equipment have a larger obligation, right? To help other people, right? So I feel that I've been given a little bit more equipment than the average person. Not just in restaurant, just in life.
Just in life.
Period.
And that's why I created Pinpoint Foundation, because everything we do is help. We don't solicit. We don't solicit donations. We don't apply or ask for grants. We don't do any of that. Everything that we do, Pinpoint Brokers and Pinpoint Commercial Underwriters, sponsors Pinpoint Foundation, and that's how we're able to implement our program. Now, if someone wanted to just donate, that's fine. They can always go to Pinpoint Foundation, find us through Zelle. But nevertheless, my biggest thing is helping people, because I do know one thing. It's better to give than to receive. And if you are truly person that helps your people, you're not gonna put no strings behind it. You're gonna do it from the heart. It ain't got nothing to do with what you wanna try to get a monetary gain out of. I'm gonna help you if you do this. Nah, we ain't gonna do that. So it goes back to that DNA. And the same thing what you were saying is have an understanding of who we are and what we are. And you say 5%, I'm gonna slim it down in my opinion. I ain't gonna say in my opinion. I'm gonna pull the age rank on you. On the age rank through my wisdom. It really goes down to 1%, but I like to be modest and not cocky. I like to be humble and meek. So it's really 1%, but I'm gonna just give another 2%. I can't give it 5% because of my 52 years of living. I've seen a lot of people talk, but they don't walk.
Right.
And that's the whole thing about being in business. A lot of people talk it, but they don't walk it. It's up to them to want to get the knowledge. It's up to them to understand, like you stated, at some point 10 years down the line, or the IRS say 5 years down the line, you got to stop faking and understand who you are and accept who you are. You are an employee.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, I want you to think about this one. If you had to pick one thing, one trait that helps take a business to the next level, that one thing that a business has to have, that one thing that took you or may take a business from year 2 to year 20, what do you think it may be? One thing.
Well, I don't have to think about that one. You say to the year 2020 or 20?
I'm saying the one thing.
Through the years.
Through the years. The one trait that you have to have, and we're not talking about the obvious stuff.
No.
Of course, you got to have a good product and service.
No.
Just one thing as an entrepreneur.
I teach that, I breathe that, I live that. You got to have that self-motivation. Then you got to have the determination. Then you got to have that persistence. Then you got to get out there and go get it. It ain't got nothing to do with whatever field you in. Whatever field you in, whatever niche you have. If you don't got self-motivation, determination, persistence, and you got the will and the drive within yourself without nobody having to coach you and talk you and to pump you up to win a game, if that ain't in you, entrepreneurship is not in you.
All right, so let me say this. What if I said to you that?
Keep going.
What if I said to you that 90% of the people that initially start a business, most people, we take people that want to start a business, entrepreneurs right now, we put all fresh new entrepreneurs in here. Let's say we put 10 of them in this room right now. And all of them are going to be motivated, all of them going to be driven, all of them, we don't know if they're going to be persistent yet because they just started, right? But they all going to be motivated and driven, and most entrepreneurs have that self-start in them because that's what pushed them to want to start a business or to do whatever it is they're doing, right? We see that in COVID. There's probably more entrepreneurs that were spawned in 2020 than probably in any year in God knows in our lifetime.
Right.
Especially because they had government financing behind them, right? So they was able, this is probably the only year that people was actually able to stay at home, work, make money, still have some level of money coming in, be able to benefit from some government aid, and then do what they love to do. Now what we're gonna have to do is come back in 2025 and see how many of those people still in business.
2022.
Well, but I'm gonna give them 5 years, right?
I ain't, but go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, but I want to see, cause see, the reason I'm saying I'm gonna go a little further out, because I think the one thing that you need is perseverance.
Perseverance,
right?
Exactly.
Because I think that no matter how driven you are, how motivated you are, how determined you are, how persistent you are, you're gonna hit a brick wall. You're gonna hit a brick wall, you're gonna mess up something gonna break, you're gonna have people hating, you're gonna have people trying to tear you down, you're gonna get sabotaged, you're gonna even do some self-sabotage. But the one thing that I can say in my 22 years of being in business, in the restaurant business, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you this, and you probably don't know this. I've had a tax business at age 22, 23. I had a technology firm at age 25, 26. And then a restaurant opened at age 27. And the one thing that I know that has kept me that I'm here for now, and you've been in business through the same thing I've been in business through. 9/11, the housing crisis that damn near took you completely out.
Not me.
Oh, not you. Okay.
I made money.
Okay.
I made a lot of money.
Okay. But there also was some things from what I remember. There was some you had to pivot and shift.
Right.
A few times. You know
I
what I'm
love
saying?
boxing, so I always pivot.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? So, and then now COVID. You know, the gas crisis, where people was running out of gas, like this little stuff they talk about with the gas and the cyber attack. I think it's more FOMO than it is anything tangible, right? They did the cyber attack on the gas lines. I personally think it's a ploy to make electrical vehicles more relevant. That's my personal opinion.
My opinion too.
You know what I'm saying?
Great minds think alike. Great minds fucking think alike.
Because the EV market has been dead due to this chip shortage. So now we got to get people back on the EV train. What better way to do it is to make it seem like gas is going to be obsolete at some point. So, but through all of that stuff, and I've had people come to me on my team, in my family, saying you should close this location and sell it. You should do this way. You should go do this. I've had people pulling me in 30,000 directions for the amount of time I've been in business. But the one thing that I knew is that it's not if, it's when. It's almost like a dish you cooking. If you start off with the right ingredients and you handle it the proper way, the dish is going to be amazing.
Right.
It's just a matter of time. And if the chicken is tough, what that mean? You can need to cook it a little longer. That's all. Now, one thing you can't do is burn it and think you're going to come back from it, right?
All right.
You can't come back from overcooking it.
So let me jump in. I Googled perseverance. I understand the definition, but I want to read it on the podcast. And when it's good, we roll. All right, listen. Perseverance is doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. Let me read it again. Perseverance, persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. His perseverance with the technique illustrates his mindset. Again, persistent. The first thing I want to say is what you asked, and I said persistence.
Absolutely.
Now, in having an understanding what Mr. Keith Kash stated, who's got soul, y'all go visit him now because the food is great. And I know I'm a great chef. I think I'm the best in the world. But he got a restaurant. But anyway, you're right. Perseverance is one of the things. That's why I was saying persistent.
Absolutely.
In order for you to persevere, you got to be persistent in whatever that field is. And one of the things that you stated about the different businesses that you have been in, myself also, and I've also stated throughout me teaching in the prisons, throughout me teaching in the jails, throughout me teaching teens and young adults financial responsibility, and just mentoring, period. I always teach about persistence and perseverance, which is two of the same. And one thing about it, you're never going to find a multimillionaire or a multi-billionaire that haven't failed yet been persistent to persevere into being successful. Just as the dictionary states. You follow what I'm saying? Success is in you. Again, it's not on you. Success is through your genes. Again, when you was in your father's loins, you was breathing success. Because out of all those, excuse the French with this Pinpoint Podcast, out of all those cells that was spitting out, spewing out off of that feel-good nut, because every human being walking around is a feel-good nut. We persevered that one dominant gene, and we made it. And whatever was in either your father or the ancestors, your mother or somebody, you had it in you, which is a unique quality. That unique quality brings about success within itself. You're going to have to go through failure, and it ain't your plan. As you stated in the beginning, it's God's plan. He already know where you're going to go. Like they say, the order of Melchizedek in Scripture. Not to get in biblical, but order of Melchizedek. Here it is. You already been ordained to be Mr. Cash. I've already been ordained to be Mr. Menifee. And what we going through. Our highs, lows, woes, and foes. You can't be successful if you never try, and you can't be successful if you never fail. The thing about entrepreneurship, in my opinion, through me doing business loans, financing, commercial loans, negotiating the commercial leases, back in the day, putting so many people in residence home and helping people who go into foreclosure because they didn't understand the foreclosure market, you might owe the knowledge is everything as well. You might owe your lender $300,000, but if that property sold for $350,000, you know they gotta write you a check back because through ignorance and not being knowledgeable of, they keep that money for so many years. If you don't claim it, just like it would if somebody died and it passed through probate, you don't claim it, then it goes to the state. Same thing with a foreclosure. Same thing with business. You got to have an understanding of business. What people don't do is educate themselves in the business that they elect to go in, whether it's a restaurateur business. Because myself, own several restaurants. One of them I paid for, I spent $2 million for. Made it, matter of fact, I normally say in meekness and humbleness, I was one of the first. But let me just say, fuck that. Be for real. I was the first black person to have a cigar bar lounge inside of Atlanta, out on the outskirts, 3991 Highway 78. And it was super elegant. But I had money, or in my mind, I thought I had some money. So I allowed other people to run it, and they ran it to the ground. Now, I didn't go educate myself on your business.
Right.
That's why that business failed.
Right.
I had several other businesses that was making good money. 40, 50, 60,000 a month clearing. that was netting, that wasn't profiting. That's great money. So this over here gonna make more than that. But I didn't properly educate myself in that field. I'm well rounded, and to this day, I continue to educate myself in commercial real estate. So what I'm saying is, in any business, as being an entrepreneur, in my opinion, when you persevere through time, hard times, through your trials and your tribulations, because you're gonna have it through everything, you got to have one thing about that. You got to be persistent, self-motivated, determined, dedicated, and have an understanding. Educate yourself in that business. I failed in real estate. However, I continue to educate myself. That's why I got the niche. That's why God bless only, thank God. I'm coming up on 30 years being in the market to where I can actually talk to somebody and know what I'm talking about, and they think that's it. No, I continue to educate myself.
So let me say this. Let's talk about visualization. Let's talk about.
You say
visualization.
Website.
Let's talk about imagery.
Social media, right?
Imagery. So what we receive visually becomes part of the spirit. Do you believe that?
Of course.
Okay. So what we hear audibly become part of the spirit, right? So nowadays, what we see visually and audibly is instant.
Well, I'm gonna let you continue. What the eye see, mouth speak, the mind believes.
Absolutely.
Let me repeat that in the reverse. What the eye see, the ears hear, that tongue speak, the mind believe. So sometimes what you hearing audibly and you seeing physical and one speaking, your mind believe it, not necessarily the meaning is 100.
Right. So what I was alluding to is we are force-fed the belief that business is instant. Right?
But it's not.
Well, we know that, right? But because we didn't have the imagery that everything was instant when we grew up, we already know that it's not instant. Because that's not what we were fed. We didn't see. What we saw was hardworking people that sustained businesses, figured it out, and
I didn't see that.
Well, I'm talking about.
I seen number of hustlers.
Well, no, hold on. Let me.
I'm just saying what I see.
No. Yeah. I disagree with you, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I saw that too, right? I'm from Harlem. I mean, shit.
I'm from Houston.
So we come from the land of the hustler, right?
Right. This is land of the hustler. H-Town, baby.
Absolutely. So
boots laced up, heels hard down.
But even within that, you saw some people that were able to expand beyond that and start businesses. They had to be a neighborhood cleaners or something owned in your neighborhood. They had to be a neighborhood grocery store or something, or a soul food restaurant or some business throughout the city. And those people stood out. They weren't. It wasn't a bunch of them. They were the 1%. You saw the 1% back in the days. We saw the hustlers, but we saw the 1% too. And we knew that the 1%, we didn't see them on IG, right?
Right.
We didn't see them open up and be an overnight success. This overnight success thing that's going on now, some of it is valid, but some of it is not.
I'm going to call that a fad hustle.
Absolutely, because we all know that there is no such thing. Now, there are people that have had a business and got a blessing, and as a result of the right person endorsing them, they was able to pop off. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it here in the city. We've seen it with some businesses and restaurants here in the city. But at the same time, we also understand that in order for you to sustain, you can only market your way but so far, right? You have to be able to have something that substantiates what you're marketing. You have to have something because at some point in time, you have to have some substance, right? And I'm going to close by saying this piece. In the restaurant field, there are a bunch of people, like we come from cooking culture. You know, we were the cooks. You know, even as slaves, we was the cooks, right? So we couldn't do nothing else. We could cook, right? But just because you can cook, don't mean you go in a restaurant, right?
Don't mean you can run a business.
That's right.
I found that out personally.
Just because you can go and find a house and renovate it, don't make you a real estate investor.
Right.
It just make you a dude or a woman that flipped the house.
That got lucky.
You know what I'm saying? Because that game is brutal as well, and you got to know what you're doing. You could lose a lot of money. So, you know, one of the things that we talked about earlier that we haven't really touched on there is that I'm a real estate investor as well.
Yeah, let's touch on that right now.
All right.
I don't want to break your stride because I love it.
Yeah, like so.
I want you to tell them, because not only is he a restaurateur, and you can see we both travel the same road about persistent persevering through our trials and tribulations of our niche business. The one thing about it, you are also blessed and successful. I always like to say blessed and successful, because if you've been doing it like he stated, more than 5 years, like I've always stated, if you're doing something more than 5 years, you're okay. You've been blessed. However, you don't fix and flip. You fix and hold, which is a different beast, because now you got to have the patience, the tolerance, and you have to have the financial comfortability to want to wait on your solid investment, just like stock. So what made you get into the investment business for once, and then saying, I don't want to flip it, get a fast income, but hold it?
And I really want to talk about this because I've seen cities. I've lived in Washington, D.C., New York City, California, San Diego, Virginia, Alexandria, Arlington, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and now in the Atlanta area. And what I've seen is cities that grow and a lot of people start to move there and gravitate towards there. What happens is the real estate market begins to change.
Right.
And we don't take advantage of it. So when the real estate market is low and homes are more affordable and the inventory is abundant, we're not really planting our seeds, right? And then you look up at a place like Harlem as an example. I'm going to use my home, where real estate was really cheap for a long period of time. They ran down the city, right? The city ran down the city. The people that ran the city. It wasn't minorities or poor folks that ran down the city. We don't have that kind of power, right? I'm not going to identify a demographic, but what I will say is what I will say is the people that ran the city ran down the city. And as a result of them running down the city, New York City in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s was in bankruptcy. Okay? Within that bankruptcy, they then came back and began to buy all those properties. Right?
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. So they began to buy all those properties. We didn't take advantage of it. I was young. I wasn't in a position to do so. But some of the people that were, we didn't take advantage of it. In places like Harlem, where they were vacant lots and ran down a brownstone. A brownstone in Harlem right now is going for $5 million. Okay? Depending on where you at.
$5 million.
$5 million, $2 to $5 million. I know people that own some. From my friends, moms and pop, their family owns them, and some people have inherited a couple, right? But I'm going to say,
cost?
Huh?
The original cost. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Which is the original cost back then?
Yes, sir.
I mean, back then you was getting them for a couple $100,000. You know what I mean? They talk about the city was giving people. They were selling brownstones for $1, right? People don't know what that meant though. It wasn't that you can get it for $1. You pay $1 because they can't give it to you, but then you had to commit. You had to have the money to renovate it, and you had to do it within a certain period of time. So it was incentivized.
It was right. What you're talking about.
So by incentive, right?
Right.
It's the difference, right? So with that being said, the reason why I don't buy and sell, because I know, and we see it happening right now, the inventory in Atlanta is low. You know, you got houses selling for 10 and 20 over value because you put a house out there on the market and you in it, you know.
It's because the real estate agent's messing up the business. And that's strange to say. I'm a real estate agent. I'm in the business. We have a real estate firm, Pinpoint Brokers. The real estate agents, they take a bunch of bids. The craziest thing, and I'm going to let you step back in it, so please don't forget your thought. But I have to say this here. We have a client, one of the brokers was negotiating a deal just yesterday. Lost the deal today. They contacted them on a new construction, and they say they taking bids. And she asked them, when the hell y'all start taking bids on new construction? So now you trying to drive that market up.
That's crazy.
So we understand the real estate business is fucked up. You got the agents that's so greedy. Then you got the builders or the sellers that go along with whatever this alleged quote-unquote professional real estate agent state. Now you probably say, well, damn, you got a real estate brokerage firm. But we are for buyers like we're developing. You ain't going to be able to give us multiple offers on our townhomes. And we'll be giving away cars as well. You can't give me the offer that comes, the offer we accept, that's it.
Period. And that's the way I thought business was done.
That's the way. It's greed right now.
Right, but check it out. But that's the world we live in, right?
Right.
So
greed.
Anything that's unregulated will be out of control until you
But it's actually regulated. They just violate because of what that thing we call, they so used to faking it that you stated, and I said they so used to lying, they think that's the norm. That is not the norm. You actually have regulations on that.
Well, let me say this.
Anti-laws.
Right, but until they start to enforce them.
Exactly.
Then, you know, but at the end of the day, getting back to why
somebody gets sued.
Right, right. Why I buy and hold is because if I do a fix and flip and make, you know, 50 to 75,000 on a average fix and flip, right? That money ain't gonna change my life. You know, 3 years from now, the money gone.
Right.
It took me 6 months of my time to get this 50, 75,000. First of all, right? And I had to go through a lot of, contractors and permitting and all this stuff. So 50, 75,000, I've sold the house. Now I got the 50, 75,000. That money is not really worth the time for me. And it has nothing to do with the money amount. It has something to do with creating generational wealth. 50 or 75,000 ain't gonna create generational wealth for me. Now, what will create generational wealth is me buying a property, renovating it, figuring out how to get this property paid for, owning it clear outright with the title, and then that house being worth 3 times what it's worth in 15, 20 years.
With the deed.
With the deed that I can now, my grandson can have, right?
Exactly.
Or somebody in my family can now. Now we got a portfolio of homes that if worse come to worse can be liquidated for whatever purpose they need to be, or
you don't build your network.
Absolutely. So fixing, flipping, just for me ain't attractive because it ain't worth that. That's short money. You know what I mean? But some people, if you do enough of it, and here's another thing I want to say because I thought about this before the podcast. If you have other income coming in, and you're not dependent on living or sustaining, you don't need that 50-75 to pay your bills, right?
So, what I call it earlier, subsidiary income.
Absolutely. Then it makes no sense to do the fix and flip, right?
Right.
Fix and hold will always be the best. And I can't tell what anybody works for them. But we're talking about trying to run through the tape. I call it running through the tape, right? I don't want to run a race. I want to run through the tape. I want to finish the race, right?
Right.
We're not finishing the race buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling, because then you don't own nothing. And I brought up New York, right? So we talked about New York. Now in Harlem, we don't own nothing.
Like Houston.
Okay, so just think about this. We took a couple of brownstones, right? And most of the brownstones in New York have apartments either above or below. It's usually 3 levels. It's like 3 apartments in one place a lot of times. So that's residual income, right? And that's dwelling for family members or for a family unit, right? But on top of that, what if we secured those properties back in the 80s, held them? We would still own Harlem. Right now we don't own Harlem. We don't even, most of the faces that you see in Harlem don't look like us. When Harlem was the place in the 20s and teens where everybody from the South moved to.
Yeah, I did the history on that part of Harlem. All the blacks, mostly all the families that's from the South, they ran
to Harlem,
to the North,
and that was the Renaissance period. The poet,
exactly. There was no slavery.
That's right. Well, not only just up north, but Harlem specifically. When that's where all the musicians, that's where all the writers, the Langston Hugheses, the.
They say that's where the DNA for African American started.
Absolutely. So,
Black African gave us so many.
But now when you go to Harlem, it don't look nothing like us. It's completely gentrified. Not completely, but it's on its way to being completely gentrified. We still hold on to some parts of it, but for the most part, they even taking the projects and co-opting the apartments in the projects. So if your auntie or your grandmom had that project apartment and she passed away, now what they're trying to do is they're trying to take that apartment, renovate it, and then co-op it to someone else. So then for some
who wouldn't have wanted to live there,
huh?
Now they feel safe to live there.
Correct, because they're pushing everybody out. So they're doing little. It's really interesting. But for me, the play is to buy and hold, because that's how you protect yourself against it. If we own these properties, if we own these buildings, if we own this land, they can never push us out. As long as our generation, our lineage hold on to it. As soon as somebody dies, everybody want to sell it so they can split up the bread.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Every single time.
It always happens, which is why my will's gonna read a certain way, right? It's gonna be some specific requirements that have to take place, because I didn't make all these sacrifices for y'all to split up money and go do whatever the hell y'all gonna do with it.
Fuck that up.
Right, because that doesn't take the family to the next level. All that does is put you in Gucci to go to, that's just some bullshit. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, and we could talk forever. It's supposed to be a 45-minute podcast. We on an hour 45. And guess what? And I don't even give a damn, right? Because we have a great conversation. But my point is that there's a lot of, for me personally.
We'll just have part 1, part 2.
That's right. That's it. That's right. That's right. But see, this is what happens. No, check it out. This is what happens when you put two cats like this in a room together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it don't even feel like we've been talking that long. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about something, it ain't long, because it's information and it's stuff that
it's knowledge that you feeding and educating. There ain't no game here.
Nah,
education.
Nah, we can do a whole series with just me and him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think that from a real estate perspective, for me, and this is something we're gonna tie. So we're gonna tie the real estate and we're gonna tie the real estate and the restaurant together.
Everything gotta be, because real estate, the restaurant is real estate, whether you lease it or own it.
Absolutely.
It's real estate.
So what I'm doing now is we are preparing to position restaurants, and this is our Who's Got Soul Southern Grill is the new brand. Who's Got Soul Southern Grill is a kind of a fusion of the Who's Got Soul Southern Cafe traditional cuisine and look and vibe, merged with a more contemporary look and feel, and some inventive menu items, some healthy items, and some creative items that me and the team have kind of came up with. So with that being said, Who's Got Soul Southern Grill is the franchise model that we will now take real estate and place and position in locations strategically where we own the land, we own the buildings, and then we become, landlords to our potential franchisees.
You know
that's a McDonald's.
I share with you, not just McDonald's, that's what Sonics did as well.
Okay.
Sonics was actually one of the pioneers of that.
Okay.
What they started, Sonics, where you go get your burger in a bag and all that. McDonald's, of course, they mastered it a while. They kind of faded out. When me and you grew up, our kids grew up, they loved McDonald's. However, they kind of faded out. Nevertheless, what Sonic was doing back then had the persons who invested into that franchise. That person will buy that property and then sell it back to Sonic and lease it out. So the whole thing, what me and you talked about in the past, what I shared with you what I was doing in the past, like that's a great idea what you're doing. I hope Pinpoint be a part of that. But what I'm saying is, remember what we're building is what we call mixed-use development. And in the mixed-use developments, you have a bunch of minority business owners that's been in business 5+ years. Remember we spoke about that. You got to be in business at least 5 years because that's showing us you're dedicated, persistent, self-motivated, determined, and you trying to really be in business, not trying to be like he say. You just want the shoes, the clothes, and all that. You want to fake it. Oh, hobby. I like that. You want a hobby, but. Hi, I'm Mr. Menifee with Pinpoint Commercial Underwriters and Pinpoint Brokers. Here to talk to you about allowing us to represent you, helping you get over the choppy waters away from the landlord sharks who will ensnare you into a one-sided lease. Here at Pinpoint, we'll keep you out of the rough. Told you. Over the choppy waters. Let Pinpoint guide you. If you don't know how to swim in the commercial real estate world, allow Pinpoint to get you over the water and down the green pastures. For your business, it's very important that you find the right commercial property for your next location. Whether you purchase it or whether you lease it, you want to make the right sinkhole. And here at Pinpoint, we ain't pleased. At Pinpoint, we ain't pleased. Don't trust your business to a subpar commercial real estate company. Come to Pinpoint and let us point you in the right direction for your next commercial real estate deal. Sand trap are a lot like landlords. Don't let get stuck in a one-sided lease. Let Pinpoint get you out of that sand trap. Just like that dead-end lease. Get on to the green. Let Pinpoint point you in the right direction for all your commercial real estate and financial needs. Visit us at pinpointbrokers.net. Also like and follow us on Pinpoint Commercial Underwriters and Pinpoint Foundation, as well as Pinpoint Film. And remember, Pinpoint can point you in the right direction, even if it's on the green. Peace, we out. That and you build this unit around where it's nothing but good minority business owners who's been successful, and just give a thought in mind. Who's got sold? One of my good partners, BQE Lounge. The gentleman down there, I don't know him, but a good partner of mine know him, Boogaloo. You got
Mr. Everything.
Right. You got a young lady that I know, Burn Lounge. They own the Burn Lounge down there on the south side. But these people have been in business. Just giving you examples. Not saying they're part, but they could be a part. People who've been in business for 5+ years. You know they in business to stay. They're not working on a hobby. They're working on something long term. Like I'm from Houston. And you go to the Turning Point. My mother went to the Turning Point. God bless her dad. My auntie went to the Turning Point. My aunts went to the Turning Point. We went to the Turning Point. Now we see the younger people going to the Turning Point. Turning Point has been around since I've known it since the 70s. I don't know how long before that, but the Turning Point is a little small Hole in the Wall Club, they call, that's in Houston, Texas, right off of OST. But people are still going to the Turning Point, and they still going to this pool hall called Carrollton. We was going to Carrollton back in the 80s when I was in high school. They still around. I don't know who the owner of it or whatever, but they still around. You want businesses like that in a more contemporary fashion to come to your mixed-use development on the bottom level, because on the top level, there will be offices. On the middle level, there'll be condos. On the bottom level is nothing but established businesses, minority business owners who know how to run a business, and everybody feed off of one another. And that's part of holding. Now, you give them a hope and opportunity, of course, to purchase that piece of land after you hold it for so long. The real estate business, it got so much involved to where everybody could be financially satisfied and could possibly, if they know what they're doing, and these businesses that have been in business, like Who's Got Sold, who's not on a restaurant tour, as well as well-rounded as a real estate investor. Now you have a piece of property that you know ain't never going nowhere because you own that too, and it's in a viable location. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to get with people who knows exactly what they're doing. And when you going out there, what I say about the fixing and holding versus fixing and flipping, nothing wrong with fixing and flipping. Fixing and holding, you got to make sure the things that you hold is something that you're holding of value.
Absolutely.
And you got to make sure whoever you put in place, whether you put them in your will, with your trust fund, or however you give it to them, they have to understand and be educated to understand I'm giving you some of value that you pass on, not you sell along. And that's one of the things that Pinpoint always, through the foundation, teaches about and try to educate people about is when you doing anything real estate, understand what aspect of it that you are in. Which bringing us to a close. I first of all personally like to thank Mr. Kash, Mr. Keith Kash, once again for coming out to us. Like I say, hey, every show that we say be a 30 minute, 45 minute, hour max. But at Pinpoint Podcast, we have no time. We have no time restraint. We do what we do. We say what we say. We feel what we feel. If don't nobody like it, hey, I understand it, but fuck you. You see what I'm talking about? But I would like for Mr. Kash to say, give you all his website, because I would really like for you guys to visit his restaurants at either location. And if you're interested in fixing anything or investing, you might contact him to where he might consult you or may go in business with you to help educate you on your first, second project. Because we're not here to say, and we hope y'all use Pinpoint, but you don't have to. But we're not here to say you got to use it. But we are here to promote anybody that come on this show, especially when they are a true entrepreneur like Mr. Kash. So I want you guys, I'm going to let him share with you guys his websites or whatever information he want to give you for his YouTube, his LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and go out and feed. And if, I ain't going to do this for everybody, but I will say this here. If you are a business within Gwinnett County, close to the Lawrenceville Swanee area, I will only do 5. We will feed your office. Contact us and let us know you truly in business. And don't try to slick shit like you can all. But you contact us and your office, give us a count. When is the loose office open, we will feed y'all office off of soul food. That's what Pinpoint to do. All costs and expenses on us. And hey, if you know anything about me, men and feet, I don't talk, I walk, baby boy. But you cannot come to me like you're a fucking can of oil thinking you slick. Because I keep up with the count. You dig what I'm talking about? So I'm going to get y'all over to Mr. Kash before we leave out.
So it's real simple.
Gwinnett County, too. Don't be fucking calling me from the camp. Or Fulton.
Who's Got Soul Cafe.com is the website. You can also visit us on IG, Facebook, Twitter, Who's Got Soul Cafe. The new brand, Who's Got Soul Southern Grill. Website, WGS Southern Grill. The IG, Facebook is Who's Got Soul Grill. You can find me, all my projects, all my brands, Chef Keith Kash with a K on all platforms. Real easy. Chef Keith Kash, and that's Cash spelled with a K. Food truck is ATL Mobile Gourmet. I got a plug for we just started our own branded alkaline water. It'll be in all our locations. We will also be doing our own branded organic lemonades. That will be on all our locations. We're trying to get to a point where we are just sustainable in-house, especially from the beverage standpoint, where we are providing and branding our own products and not selling things that are unhealthy to our community. So we want to kind of tap into that. Our locations right now, all fresh ingredients, all our produce is local. All of the items that we use in-house for preparation, all of our seasonings are in-house blends that we blended ourselves. All of our recipes are homemade recipes that we've kind of honed over the years. So, Southern Grill is just going to be a elevation of the Southern experience. And, when we open, I think it's going to be amazing. And look forward to seeing not only some of your guests, but just you guys, period. Y'all been supporting us. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Pinpoint, JL, Victoria, and the crew. We've been, they've been supporting us since we opened, since day one, and they still, come and support. So, we gonna be doing big things individually and collectively moving forward.
All right. Again, we always thank y'all for this Hump Day Pinpoint Podcast. And let me be very detail specific. The first 5 businesses, legitimate business, and understand we do commercial underwriting, commercial business. We don't know if you're in business, but not a hobby. You contact us. Your business located in certain area code. Let me give you the area code to be specific. The area code for Duluth, only for the
30096
30096
30044
30044 30045 and 30024. Only picking 5 though. Businesses, don't matter how big your staff is, how small your staff is. You contact us, we elect you without a can of oil. That means your ass being slicked out of your business to get some food. We will feed your staff. It has to be ordered from the Duluth location, because we appreciate Mr. Kash, who's a very educated man that y'all seen, who didn't have to elect Pinpoint to negotiate his lead, but he did step out, and we very grateful for that. But we will feed your business lunch, your order, whatever it is. We don't walk, we talk. You order it. He'll let me know if you full of shit or not, and then I'll know too. But we will feed your staff, because we want y'all to go out and support it. Okay? Whether you do business with Pinpoint and whether you ever eat again at Who's Got Soul, this is our way of giving back, because we really appreciate Who's Got Soul and any other small business owner, corporate business owner that does business with Pinpoint. We show our true appreciation, because without clients, we would not be in business. Hey, Pinpoint Podcast, Mr. Menifee signing out, and I gotta take a toast to Mr. Kash. He ain't drinking, but it's it. I'm gonna toast him the goddamn way. We out.
Red Cup Chronicles.